I know this is going to be quite a contentious video, so I'm just going to go ahead and preface the entire thing by stating I don't believe any gacha game out there is unequivocally better than any other gacha game in every aspect. I think every gacha game does something better than another gacha game. I don't think there is any singular game that is infallible. I think Genshin does a lot of things right and some things wrong, and at the same time, I think Wuthering Waves does a lot of things right and some things wrong. I don't think at the end of the day, either game is necessarily or inherently better than the other. I do think that there are certain facets of each game that are better, however. Solace went ahead and covered some of these in his video. I'm reacting to that. I watched this over on stream. If you are not already subscribed to Solus, go ahead and do so. He does some great Wuthering Waves videos. Other than that, be respectful in the comments, but at the same time, let me know what areas of either Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves you think each respective game excels. Not just over the other, but generally. Now, if this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the little bell notification, that way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post daily. Do not miss out. Solace Saga is a new creator, as far as I'm aware. He's slowly become a bit of a friend of mine. We've talked a lot, but he did a video titled Wuthering Waves is better game than Genshin Impact. Now, I will preface this by stating that I am personally of the opinion that Wuthering Waves and Genshin and Star Rail and Zenless and Tower of Fantasy and Punishing Graven, Aether Gazer, all gacha games have their pros and cons. All gacha games are good and bad in their own way. I don't think Wuthering Waves or Genshin are necessarily inherently better in every aspect than the other.
Wuthering Waves is a better game than Genshin Impact. Yup, I said what I said. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why I think that is. Now,
I bet he pissed so many people off with this video though.
Now, before anybody comes for me, which I realize is going to happen anyway, I want you to know that I have played both games extensively, and I've spent over 3 times as much money in Genshin Impact than I have in Wuthering Waves.
I actually played 6 months of Genshin Impact, and I've played 4 months of Wuthering Waves. I've spent thousands in Wuthering Waves, and I've spent over 4,000 in Genshin Impact.
I have my Raiden Shogun at C2, and I don't care how bad the meta is for freeze teams, Kamisato Ayaka will always have a special place in my heart. But today, I want to tell you about all the things that I can come up with where Genshin Impact just quite honestly falls short when compared with Wuthering Waves.
Character models, combat, they're the 2 most obvious, I think.
And if your first response back to me is something about the Sensory Tower revenue reports, just go ahead and stop, because I don't take into account how much money a gacha game has bamboozled players into spending in what for all of them are very predatory pricing models. I'm not taking into account any of that.
Why blow that much money on a game? If you have money to spend and you enjoy a game, then spend money in a game. It's that simple.
As far as the quality of any individual game. But hey, first, if you're new here on my channel, what's up? I'm Solus, and I make videos about gacha games. Guides, news, just whatever I feel like making. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, now let's get into today's video. The first thing on my list is going to be how generous the developers are for Wuthering Waves and how that impacts the new player experience. The new player experience.
And Zenless, Zone Zero, Honkai Star Rail, they've also, I think, improved significantly in terms of how friendly they are with the community as well. It's not just Wuthering Waves. I think for all intents and purposes, it's just Genshin that sucks when it comes to the kinds of rewards they give us.
Experience is going to be significantly better than it is for Genshin Impact.
Revenue reports also only report mobile. Yeah,
is Wuthering Waves gives you 3 free 5-star characters from the standard banner, as well as something like 30 polls, 30 free polls for the limited banner, if I remember right. Now, Genshin Impact just recently did a thing where you can also get a 5-star character of your.
We see Jean, Mona, the Luke, yeah.
choice from the standard banner, but it's only a single character, and it took them over 4 years to add this to the game. And they never give out free 10 pulls. The main part of having fun in any gacha game is being able to play with characters that you like, and Wuthering Waves allows you to do that from the very beginning of.
They need to add Shorekeeper and Chongli there.
The game. Kuro Games has honestly been so generous with what they've given us in Wuthering Waves.
And they continue to be generous. Every single month they do something else to impress the community.
that it's actually had like some kind of reverse psychology effect.
Yeah, I've actually heard that Honkai Star Rail is getting very unbalanced. Yeah.
Effect on me where I've actually ended up spending more money in the game than I would have otherwise. And that's a perfect segue.
It's wild. Only Genshin, Star Rail, and Zenless are fairly generous compared. It's crazy. Yeah, I think, you know, since Genshin released, Honkai Star Rail being done by a different internal dev team, Zenless being done by a different internal dev team, know how poorly received like that aspect of Genshin was. So they've taken certain precautions when it comes to how friendly they are, and have definitely improved where Genshin failed.
Segue into my next point, which is the character and weapon banners. Now, Genshin Impact just recently introduced a
he
change,
means rates. I think he means rates.
Not long after Wuthering Waves came out, that made their character and weapon banners a little bit better. But the crazy thing is that even with the new changes, the banners still absolutely suck when compared with the Wuthering Waves banners. In Wuthering Waves, the hard pity for a 5-star character is 80 poles. And for me, usually I get a 5-star character.
Wait, did he say the hard pity for characters is 80?
Is 80 poles. The hard pity for a 5-star character is 80 poles.
Okay, for a 5-star character, but not for the limited banner character. Okay. Yeah, so hard pity is 80, which means by 80 you're guaranteed a 5-star character, and if you fail the 50-50, because the game does have a 50-50 system just like Genshin, you're guaranteed the limited banner character by 160. Genshin is 90 and then 180 respectively, and then Genshin's weapon gacha I think is the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember exactly. It has been like a year and a half since I played Genshin, whereas Wuthering Waves is 100% guaranteed upon hitting pity. Before we go any further, let me take a moment here to thank my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are phenomenal, and I can't thank you all enough for the support. Now let's keep talking.
And for me, usually I get a 5-star character sometime before 80 pulls.
ZZZ is friendly.
Soft pity, which I think is around 69, which is a nice even number. But the biggest thing personally for me is that the limited weapon banners are guaranteed. They are guaranteed at 80 pity. So that means no 50-50, no other unwanted weapons. You are getting the weapon that you want at or before 80 pulls every single time.
I like how he says before, but let's be honest here. None of us ever get our weapon or our limited banner character before hitting pity.
And look,
we're all
I know
fucking unlucky.
Full well that gacha games in general are just a major ripoff. But these are the best and most generous banners that you're going to find in any gacha game that's out right now.
We all have skill issues,
by definition, this also makes Wuthering Waves more free-to-play friendly. It's just an L for Genshin all the way around. Now, I'm going to have to break up this next part into several subcategories, but let's go through and see how Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact compare in terms of content and gameplay. So first thing,
well, you can't compare them in terms of content. One game is 4 years old and has 4 years worth of content. The other is 3 months old, 4 months old, and therefore only has a few months worth of content.
I want to talk about is combat. Don't get me wrong.
Genshin's elemental reaction systems is better. Wuthering Waves overall combat is better. I don't think you could summarize it any better than that. Tell me I'm wrong.
Enjoy Genshin's combat very much. Genshin's elemental reaction system is super cool and it is really fun.
Never early characters.
That is kind of all you get. The game is easy, and once you learn the elemental reactions, that's it. Enemies and bosses and mobs are just sponges for damage numbers, and you can just mindlessly grind it away. In Wuthering Waves, you have dodges, counterattacks, intro and outro skills, and a stagger bar for enemies. All of those elements in Wuthering Waves make the combat feel way more dynamic in every single fight. You sometimes actually have to think, and I know that can be a scary word, but trust me, it's worth it. So while I do acknowledge that it is possible for somebody to enjoy Genshin...
10 pulls? Are you serious? What? Genshin's issue is nobody's listened for 4 years. If you get an update, you want it to completely happenstance? Yeah.
Genshin impacts combat more. If anyone is to try and say that Genshin Impact's combat is just objectively better, that is just false. You can say that it is easier or that you enjoy it more, but that's about it.
No, I think you can definitely say aspects of the combat is better. Like, you can say that the elemental reaction system is a deeper yet alternate way of doing what Wuthering Waves does, because Wuthering Waves doesn't have those elemental synergies, but instead allows for deeper, more complex mechanics in the form of dodges, parries, counterattacks, and everything. While Genshin doesn't necessarily have that, they do have an alternate version of deeper, more complex mechanics. So I think essentially they allow for more complex, thought-provoking combat in different ways. You could definitely say one is better than the other. For people that prefer elemental synergy and elemental reactions, then it is definitely better for them. But people that can't dodge or parry or counter, like, it's probably gonna suck for them.
Okay, now let's move on to world exploration. This is an area
bad luck
where
is
Wuthering
legendary?
Waves absolutely blows Genshin Impact out of the water. You know the stupid and annoying stamina bar that you have in Genshin Impact?
When running around, yes. Fuck the stamina bar in every game.
That runs out after like 10 feet of sprinting. In Wuthering Waves, you can sprint to your heart's content with no stamina bar. You can also run up walls, double jump, and there's a grapple. Also, in the Wuthering Waves live stream for version 1.3, we just learned that they're adding even more quality of life and ways for world traversal when Black Shores
portal
releases.
mechanics were really cool.
I literally feel so cringe now every single time that I'm playing Genshin and I run out of stamina while climbing a wall at the same pace that Joe Biden unsuccessfully climbs up a flight of stairs. And also in the same...
And at the same time, Genshin Impact still does it better than Tower of Fantasy.
same vein as world exploration is mining. Now, this is one of those really small things, but in my opinion, all of these small things do start to add up. But in Genshin Impact, when you...
Hayo sells quality of life things by selling you new 5 stars. That's true. Wasn't the new character equipped with the ability to wall run, but only she can do it?
You're mining with any character that doesn't have a claymore, it feels like you are chiseling away at Mount Everest with a toothpick. But in Wuthering Waves, pretty much any character can break rocks with relative ease. Chun-Li, for example, can break rocks with one hit, and most of the other characters...
She could probably break rocks between her...
with the exception of Rectifier users, can break them pretty quickly as well. Okay, so next up on my list is endgame content.
Character models, dude! Graphics, character models, animations! We can't be 2/3 of the way through and we're not touching on that yet.
If you've ever hit the endgame in Genshin, you probably know that the endgame just consists of basic...
Nothing. No, there's no actual real endgame. But I mean, the same can realistically be said for Wuthering Waves 2. I mean, tactically you can run out, you can grind echoes, but...
You just keep leveling
the hologram fights.
Your characters, grind artifacts,
Thighs?
do your Spiral Abyss, and then you log back in for real when there's an actual story update.
The card game?
I know
Yeah.
they added that new mode recently, again, coincidentally, not long after Wuthering Waves came out, but it's only one
Yeah, it's just a coincidence, chat.
more mode, and it's not that great. Now, in Wuthering Waves, you have the Tower of Adversity, the Elusive Realm, and Hologram bosses. The Tower
But the
of
Elusive
Adversity
Realm is also on a timer too, right? Like, it's not available 24/7.
admittedly use some changes, but that's basically your Spiral Abyss equivalent. The Elusive Realm is a roguelike mode, and honestly, in my opinion, it is absolutely incredible. And they add updates to it with every new iteration that just continuously keep making it better.
I did a video on that.
The hologram bosses, though, I think are the best part of the game. For anyone who wants it, they essentially...
I hate hologram boss fights, but that's just because I suck at the game.
just provide a tough challenge, which is something that just quite literally doesn't exist in Genshin. And part of the fun for the hologram bosses is actually just re-clearing them with different teams and different characters, just to see what you can do. And considering that Wuthering Waves just came out a few months ago, I would anticipate that there's going to be even more endgame content coming in the future. Now,
Hopefully, because that is one of the complaints that many people have about Genshin. And if Wuthering Waves really wants to establish itself here and set itself apart from Genshin, they need to implement what Genshin lacks. So an endgame is part of that. I'm surprised Solace actually didn't mention the echo farming though. They announced new endgame mode for the simulated universe. Cool.
Their way on this, but sometimes I don't want to read the story, and sometimes I just want to get back into the action.
No!
Well, guess what Wuthering Waves has that Genshin Impact does not. If you guessed a story skip...
But they're not the only one that does. Zenless also has a story skip button. The Zenless devs were so proud of their implementation of a story skip that they actually announced it during their live stream. They took a shot at Genshin by having a segment dedicated to story skipping.
The button, you would be correct. Genshin players, myself included, have been asking for this for years. But in Wuthering Waves,
Skip, yeah.
If you're not in the mood to read, you don't have to. Simple as that. And in version 1.3 of Wuthering Waves, they are adding a new feature where when you do skip the dialogue, it's still going to give you a summary of what it is that you skipped so that you know what you missed.
I didn't actually
Huge
know
W
that.
from
Wow.
Pro Games. Okay, so next, let's talk about the
And that might be because I've never skipped anything in Wuthering Waves.
ecosystem in Wuthering Waves versus the artifact system in Genshin Impact.
One is gated behind stamina consumption. The other allows for you to endlessly farm in your own or friends' worlds.
There's really not...
But both of them are still a lengthy, grindy, arduous process to obtain specific sets that allow for you to min-max. I still have not finished my Gion from 1.0.
a whole lot to say with this comparison. Literally just everything about the ecosystem in Wuthering Waves is better than the artifact system in Genshin Impact. In Genshin, it is an endless grind, and at the end of that endless grind, you probably still won't have an artifact with the correct main stat that you want. Now, they did just add a new mechanic where you can get an artifact with the main...
Echoes are easy compared to artifacts, 100%. 100%. But I grinded for a month straight and I still didn't finish Gion. Mrs. Stix grinded for a week and she did. So, that's a bit of a skill issue, but it's also a bit of an RNG issue.
Main stat that you want, but it takes months to do it for just one artifact. And then
Lucky
your
Lance.
substats are probably still going to roll like shit. Wuthering Waves, on the other hand, incorporates open world exploration into its ecosystem. And there are game mechanics to where you can pretty regularly get these items called malleable echoes, which allow you to choose an echo with the main stat of your choice. And the fact that you can use your echoes in combat adds an entire extra layer of complexity. Like I said,
Pokemon
there's
battles.
really not a whole lot to compare here when talking about which system is better. And now, let's just talk about the...
No way, he didn't touch on the graphics or the character models! What? What? Solus, dude! There's no way! You cannot, no! You can't compare the characters in Genshin to Wuwa? That is like the biggest thing! You compare worlds, you compare characters, like, compare... I'm sorry, like... Like, look at this. You can't compare Genshin's characters to Wuwa, man. You just can't. That is like the easiest of all. Like, come on. If you're to compare anything about these two games, if you're to say, you know, one game looks better than the other, or if you're to say one game is better than the other in one area, it is the characters. The characters look better. Hands down. Solus, dude. Okay, Solus, we're gonna need a part 2. We're definitely gonna need a part 2 here.
devs. One thing that really stands out...
Someone did a side-by-side video. Oh, they did. We're gonna have to look at that. We'll probably look at that tomorrow, though. On tomorrow's stream, we'll go ahead and look at that.
About Wuthering Waves is how quickly Kuro Games responds to feedback. And they're kind of doing that out of necessity if you think about it, right? Because they know, and every other game developer knows, that they will not be able to get away with what Genshin Impact has done over the last 4 years. Genshin is a special case, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but moving forward, the open world gacha space is expanding, and in order to compete for your game time and your money, the devs have to do better than the Genshin devs.
Which really isn't saying a lot. That's not a difficult thing to do.
Which, admittedly, is not hard to do at all.
There we go!
So if you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on my future gacha content.
Yeah, for real. Easy like. That was a great video, chat. Make sure you go leave a comment. Let him know that I sent you on over, that we sent you on over here. That was a very solid video, though, chat. I like Solus. Hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are gonna be on screen in just a moment and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.